Today I am going to discuss the second important large intestinal parasite, which is known as Tricuris trichiura. Now, you have seen this slide in my previous lecture, and I told you that nematodes are classified on the basis of their habitat, and I started with the ones which reside in the large intestine. I've done Enterobius vermicularis in detail, and today I'm going to move on to Tricuris trichiura. The common name is important. The common name for this nematode is whipworm. It is so called because it resembles a whip. If you look at this slide, you will see the exact picture of a whip. So this parasite is like a whip. You can see this portion. This is like the handle of the whip, and the hair-like anterior portion is like the cord of a whip. And I hope you know what a whip is. This was used in the ancient time to beat the slaves or the animals. This parasite is widely distributed in the world, and it is considered as the third most common parasite or of man or humans. And it is seen in places where there is poor sanitation facilities like the third world countries and in moist, warm climates. It's a parasite of the large intestines, so it is mainly seen in the colon, cecum, or the appendix. And if you look at this picture, you can see that this parasite is attached to the intestinal mucosa, or as you can see over here, this is a very nice picture showing you a large number of these parasites attached to the intestinal mucosa. And infection occurs through fecal oral route, that is when water and food become contaminated by the eggs of this parasite. Coming to its morphology, very important. Why is it called a whipworm? As I just told you, its structure is just like a whip. This is the anterior part, which is thin hair-like, and this constitutes basically the cord of the whip. And this is the posterior part, which is thicker in an appearance, and it is like the handle of the whip. This part is going to, if you look at the next slide, you will see this anterior end embedded in the mucosa of the intestine, and the posterior part is hanging in the lumen of the intestines. This is also showing you the posterior portion hanging in the intestinal lumen, and the anterior part is embedded in it. Now, the posterior part which is hanging here contains the reproductive system. This slide is showing you the female and the male versions. The female is much larger than the male. As you can see over here, it's the posterior end is straight, whereas with the male, the posterior end is curved in. The eggs are very important. Number one, because you see them as part of your auspice and your viva. You asked about it in your vivas. And secondly, this is the infective stage of this parasite. The infective stage are the eggs. If you look at them, they have this double wall. Let me use the pen here. Now, so it has this double wall, thick wall, and the anterior and the posterior end or the poles have a mucus plug in it. This is the mucus plug which is there in the egg, and this is something special for these eggs. And when they are freshly passed, they are unsegmented. Their further development occurs in the moist, shady soil, and they become embryoted, which is the infective form or the infective stage of this parasite. So these are barrel-shaped egg. The shape is barrel-shaped, and they have this mucus plug at both the ends, and it is double walled and it is bile stained. This is something important. All of you should know about the egg of this parasite. Another slide showing you the same mucus plug bile stained eggs. Now this is the type of MCQ which you see in your exams. Barrel shaped eggs with a mucus plug. Which of the following is the answer? So you pick up the correct answer from the options which are given below. The life cycle of this parasite is very simple. Man is the only host, and embryonated eggs which are passed in the feces are taken with ingested with food or water by man. They go into the small intestines where the larva hatches out from one of the poles, and this larva is now going to move to the large intestines, where by this anterior end it is going to embed itself. If you look at this part, the anterior end in the large intestines get embedded in the mucosa of the large intestines, where the posterior portion, which contains the reproductive system, keeps on hanging in the lumen of the intestine. Now the copulation occurs after some time, and the fertilized female is then going to start laying eggs, and these eggs initially are unembryoted eggs, and these unembryoted eggs can be as many as 3,000 to 20,000 per day, and these eggs are passed in the feces. In the feces, further development occurs, and these eggs are then converted into embryonated eggs, and these embryonated eggs are the ones which are the infective stage of this parasite, and they are then ingested with food or water, and the cycle is repeated again. So just a repetition of what I've told you. So you can get a question on draw the life cycle, draw and label in detail the life cycle of this parasite, where there are special marks for the eggs which you draw. So you have to give a proper diagram of the egg. Or you can be asked to discuss in detail the life cycle of these parasites. So as I said, man is the only host. Adult worms are present in the large intestines. Humans get infected by the embryotic eggs, and the special structure of the eggs is that they are barrel shaped with a mucus plug at both the ends. The eggs are hatched in the small intestines. The larva comes out from one of the poles. It can remain in the large intestines in the small intestines for about 10 days, and then it moves on to the large intestines. In the large intestines, the anterior end of this parasite is going to get embedded in the hair, in the mucosa of the large intestines, and the posterior end is, you can see it hanging in the lumen. And after copulation, the female is going to start producing these eggs, and they could eggs about 3,000 to 20,000 eggs can be laid down per day, and these eggs are passed in the feces, where they in the soil further development occurs, and these eggs are then converted into embryonated eggs, which are the infected form or stage of these parasite, and when they are taken with food and water by humans, the cycle is repeated again. Coming to the pathology, the worm is responsible for iron deficiency anemia. Now, iron deficiency anemia, basically, there are two parasites which can lead to iron deficiency anemia. One is Ankylostoma duodenale, and the second is Tricuris ticura. Ankylostoma duodenale is also very important, and it's a very, very important examination question as well. Now, iron deficiency anemia in this case is because this parasite is going to embed itself in the lumen of the large intestines. Now, when it embeds itself, there is going to be some hemorrhage of that area, and depending on the load of this parasite, as you can see over here in this slide, you can see the number of parasites sitting here in the lumen. There's a lot of blood loss, and this blood loss is going to result in a condition which is known as iron deficiency anemia. Secondly, with prolonged infection, the intestinal mucosa become highly viable, and it continuously break down, and there's bleeding from that part, and this also is going to further contribute towards this iron deficiency anemia. So iron deficiency anemia is very, very important here. It's a very important pathology which is produced by this pathogen, and all of you should be familiar with the two parasites which lead to iron deficiency anemia. Second question is on rectal prolapse. Now, this parasite is the one which is responsible for rectal prolapse, as you see over here. Depending on the load of the parasite during defecation, the whole of the rectum can come out of the anus, and that is known as rectal prolapse. Plus there's going to be marked inflammation and edema of the rectum. All of this is going to contribute again towards prolapse of the rectum. Then we have worm dysentery. What is dysentery? Dysentery, I told you, is passage of blood and mucus in the stool. So because there is blood loss by these parasites, the stool is going to contain blood. Hence it is, and the parasite is known as whipworm. So this is known as whipworm dysentery. Whipworm dysentery, because of the rectal bleed, continuous blood coming out of the rectum with the feces. So this is whipworm dysentery. Again, the MCQ type of MCQ which you will find in your exam. The history of is an old man with repeated dysentery and rectal prolapse. Blood examination reveals iron deficiency anemia. So which is the most likely pathogen? Diagnosis is very simple. You just have to look for the eggs in the stool, and if you know the structure of the egg, you can easily diagnose this case. The eggs, I have told you, they are barrel shaped and they have a mucus plug at both the ends, and they are bile stained. So you can never miss these eggs if you see them in the stool specimen. Now, sigmoidoscopy is another test which can be done for diagnosis of this condition. This test is to look, we generally use this instrument to look at the rectum and the colon for edema, parasites, or eggs. And the eggs again are very important. You should know what they look like. They are barrel shaped with a mucus plug at both the ends. So with this, I've come to the end of this parasite, and from just to summarize this, it's a whipworm. It's looking exactly like a whip. The interior part of the whip gets embedded in the mucosal surface, and that is the reason why it is going to continuously bleed the intestinal mucosa, the large intestines, and this chronic blood loss is going to lead to iron deficiency anemia. And depending upon the number of worms which are sitting there in the rectum, it is going to bring about another condition which is known as rectal prolapse. And the third condition which is associated with this parasite is known as whipworm dysentery. So thank you very much. Next time I'm going to move on to ascaris.